Jesus' 12 disciples. The focus of Jesus' ministry was to raise up future leaders. Though Jesus served the crowds, his priority was to train his 12 disciples so that they could go out and do the work of the ministry and preach the gospel. They became his core group and inner circle. Jesus went out to the mountainside to pray and spent the night praying to God. "My Father, time is dark. What shall I do when My name is Summer St. John. I'm going to be doing my informative speech on Jesus' 12 disciples. The focus of Jesus' ministry is to raise up future leaders. Even though he served the crowds, his priority was to train the 12 apostles to become his core group, his inner circle, to go out and preach the gospel. Jesus went out to the mountainside to pray and spent the night praying to God. "My Father, time is dark," he said. "Show me the way." Through prayer, Jesus asked God the direction that he wanted to go, the path he wanted to take for the men that he wanted to choose as his 12 disciples. Jesus chose the 12 according to God's purpose to bear spiritual fruit for his glory. And I'm going to talk a little bit about a few of the 12 disciples. First one that I'm going to talk about is Matthew. Matthew, God used an outcast in Matthew. He was definitely an outcast. He was a Jewish tax collector, and it was likely that he was fairly well off financially because of his profession. This makes his decision to follow Christ all that more remarkable, because he had to leave that all behind when he chose to follow Christ and become one of the 12 disciples. When he decided to follow the Lord, he threw a big party and invited all his friends. His decision to follow Christ was immediate, unlike some of the others. As a tax collector, Matthew was an outcast in Jewish society. He apparently had no friends who were devout in the Jewish faith. At his party, there were only other tax collectors and sinners, which makes it even more remarkable that he was so immediately drawn to Christ. It was easy for Matthew to follow Christ, considering his personal circumstances. Social isolation does make it easy to enjoy, it doesn't make it easy to enjoy personal wealth if you don't have anybody to share it with. It's not very much fun. No doubt he knew of the supernatural essence of Christ's ministry, and he even had heard him speak a time or two. It's often that outcasts find it easier to follow Christ than people who are really socially inept, because they tend to be people pleasers. Next, I'm going to talk about John, and he was actually the cousin of Jesus, and he was a fisherman in the Sea of Galilee. His life was hard work, but it had paid off for his family. His family had servants and were able to support the ministry of Jesus. John had great humility. When John the Baptist points out that Jesus was the Messiah, John follows without delay. He was outspoken about his faith from the start. The disciple whom Jesus loved was John. He was the closest to Jesus of the inner circle of Peter, James, and John. He was also the only eyewitness to the cross among the disciples, and he was the eyewitness to the resurrection as well. The next disciple that I'm going to talk about is Peter. Peter's name was also Simon. A lot of people call him Simon Peter in the Bible. The testimony of Peter always stands behind the writing of Mark. Peter was enthusiastic, emotionally kind of a train wreck, swift to speak without thinking. He didn't think about what he said, full of love and anger, sometimes legalistic. But he did love Jesus. He loved Christ so much, yet he couldn't muster up the spiritual resources to remain with him during his arrest, trial, and resurrection. He was the second to the tomb on the third day, and he entered first, but did not believe what he saw. He is the first disciple to see Christ after the resurrection. He was unsure of his standing with Christ immediately after the resurrection because of all of the goof-ups that he had had. Peter was a leader and very much a preacher, but he wasn't careful about what he said and the message that he delivered. For Christ, he made many mistakes, and then he sought his forgiveness in a desperate and emotional way, which made him so endearing to Christ and made Jesus want to pick him as one of his disciples. At Christ's prediction of Peter's denial, Peter replied, "Even if I have to die with you, I will not deny you." And Jesus already knew that he was going to deny him. He obviously foresaw he was going to deny him. And all the disciples followed Peter's denial as well, sadly to say. Jesus loved his disciples as his spiritual family, and they put God first in their lives, and that's what he was looking for. He was looking for ordinary people to do extraordinary things through. They left everything behind to follow Jesus, and Jesus honored their decision and loved them dearly and blessed them. And those who obey God will always be a spiritual family member to him. And that's what the 12 disciples, that's what I see them as. I see them as a spiritual family, and I see them as, I can put myself in their position at times, in all of their position at times, even the disciples that I didn't speak of, because we all make mistakes and we're all human, and that is what God wanted, was for us to look at those ordinary people and to be able to put ourselves in their shoes. And even the 12 disciples made mistakes. Every single one of them did. And so do we, and he loves us anyway and blesses us anyway, and which is God's grace. So thank you, and I hope that you learned a lot about the 12 disciples. I hope it was very informing.